Well, and welcome to the gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. So yesterday, the day finally came. The titans of the big tech were grilled by the Senate Commerce Committee. Of course, they didn't go to Capitol Hill; it was all done remotely. But nonetheless, there were Jack Dorsey of Twitter, Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook, and the guy, I forgot, I always have his name wrong, the Google guy. And the grilling was entirely to be expected. However, very little clarity was brought to the situation for a very good reason, that each of the parties had their own beef, and there really was very little common ground on the issues that should have been discussed. The Republicans were, with some justice, angry with Twitter, Jack Dorsey in particular, for what Twitter did to the New York Post article about Hunter Biden. They prevented the circulation of the article, and they raised, again, rightly, the repeated censorship that Twitter had exercised over President Trump himself, putting all kinds of little warning labels on these comments, while Twitter hasn't done anything comparable to any Democrat or indeed any liberal at all. So their view was that Twitter is censoring conservatives. The Democrats, I think, were much more hostile toward Facebook. Zuckerberg was the one they had in their sights. And their beef was that they weren't doing enough censorship. They weren't doing enough monitoring of interference in the election. They weren't doing enough to end misinformation and disinformation and foreign interference. None of this discussion had anything to do with what was ostensibly the subject matter, the Section 230 and the immunity that the tech giants have enjoyed over the years, whereby they can basically do whatever they like, and they're immune from any prosecution the way publishers are. So it was nice to see these billionaires squirming in their seats, but in the end, this was a fairly pointless exercise. What was your feeling, Peter?
Yeah, I think it was well into the second hour that the Section 230 of the Communications and Decency Act was even mentioned. I mean, that's what got my goat. I mean, this is what it's all about. I mean, everybody has their gripes with social media. There's nothing new about that, okay? And it shows me that Congress, even though they stomp their foot like a child, they're not really willing to step up to bat and really seriously consider this here. Now, we do have the DOJ looking into anti-monopoly behavior, okay, with Google, which is a good start. But this was the opportunity to talk about Section 230, and that's what it's all about. It's the only thing that this is about, okay? That's all that matters here. Because, again, you know, what were these social media platforms supposed to do? They're supposed to create an even playing field. Section 230, if applied the way it should be, would be an equal playing field. Now, I don't think there's any redemption for these platforms. I think it should be revoked and let them just hire an army of lawyers, and then, you know, and then you learn to behave yourself, okay? Then you start saying, no, this is what 230 means or what it doesn't mean. See, there's no fire to their feet. And Congress, as usual, in one of the least popular institutions in American life, showed why they are, okay? Because they have no backbone. Now, Ted Cruz did a great job. Wonderful theatrics, particularly since Dorsey looks like Rasputin now, okay? So it was really good, you know, to share that stuff, okay? And, you know, Jack Dorsey, he's stupid and he's fluent in it. He showed everybody, okay? Yeah. But it didn't move the needle. That's what bothered me. It didn't move the needle. It was theatrics. Dorsey looked like a dork, weird guy. Okay, you can look the way you want to look. Okay, fine. But his answers were, I mean, It was like talking to a child. Okay, okay. Why have you blocked the New York Post place on Twitter? Its account. Okay. Once they delete, if they delete everything, we'll let them start sharing again. But you're not influencing the election. No, we're not influencing. Like, let's do this again, Jack. Okay, why have you blocked? I mean, it was like chasing your tail. I mean, do you actually hear what you're saying? Do you actually understand the question? And this guy is a billionaire. This guy's adult. He's a billionaire. This is a guy that's partly controlling the entire media landscape. This guy.
That's right. That's it. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's exactly right. And what is really happening is really quite alarming, because here we have Facebook, Google, Twitter, Amazon. They control pretty much the global flow of information. And so who are these people who are actually exercising this censorship? Well, they're people of a certain mindset. They, kind of, often young, not terribly knowledgeable. They have all the right liberal, politically correct, woke views, and they are in control of the flow and transmission of information. It is really alarming, and Congress really needs to do something, because you can't just have these sort of people who are not qualified to exercise censorship basically deciding who gets to hear what. And we're just a few days away from the election, and they've already made clear. I mean, Facebook is making already clear that it's going to be exercising quite extensive censorship on election night, preventing certain kinds of statements being made. So, for instance, if should any Republicans or Trump declare victory, they will immediately prevent this from happening. So here are these companies who are now blatantly getting involved in politics, and then saying, "Hey, well, we're just this neutral platform. We're like the telephone companies." This cannot go on.
Well, obviously, if we compare the New York Post story about Hunter Biden and compare 3.5 years of a conspiracy about Russiagate, the hoax here. I mean, they didn't stop any misinformation there. Every single claim of substance was completely debunked. And you and I and a few other people were part of it. And you and I should get more credit for it, by the way. But you let other stuff continue. And you censor the president of the United States. I don't care if you like Trump or not. I don't care if you like or dislike his tweets, okay? But it's very selective of what they understand misinformation to be. No, it's because of how they're ideologically informed. Yes. And that's obvious, okay? Yep. And that does influence the election process. The thing is that you and I were brought up to be quite dispassionate about these things. I mean, I hear things, look, because of what we do, I look at a lot of cable TV a few hours a day. And if I watch CNN and MSNBC, I'm insulted every step of the way, every heartbeat, every breath. But I'm not going to deny them to say what they're saying. No way. Because then if I do, they're going to do it to me. All right. This is very much a one-way street, and it's because they're ideologically informed. And that's what makes it really pernicious, because they're not even aware of how their ideology is informing them. And you just, all of the woke credentials and privileges and all that, all I can say to these people is that you do not experience the consequences of your ideology. The rest of us do. When you're living in your mansions and you have your private jets and helicopters, and your private security, you don't feel like the rest of us do. And they look down upon you. This is the quintessential example of a caste of people that look down upon the rest of the population. And the high tech, instead of liberating the human mind and potential, it's creating a new serfdom. High tech is doing that, a new serfdom.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Because their arrogant idea about misinformation is that there are these dim people far too dumb to make their own decisions, far too dumb to look at information and find out what's true and what isn't true. No, we our educated people have to make these decisions for them. We have to tell them what they may see, what they may not see, what information should be made available, what shouldn't be. It is the most extraordinary arrogance, given, as you say, the whole point of the information superhighway was to democratize information, to allow ordinary people to have access to information, which used to be very difficult. I mean, you basically you had to go to a library. You had to know where the library was. Had to get the good newspapers and so on. Now, boom, boom, a few clicks of the switch, and it's all available to you. So now they are the people who are trying desperately to prevent this. No, no, you are not to have this information. We superior people. Zuckerberg superior? Who is he to decide? Who is he to decide whether masks are effective or not effective? I mean, there are scientists who say one thing, scientists who say the other. We should just simply sit there and argue about this ourselves. But the idea that Zuckerberg is going to make a decision, no, you mustn't listen to people who say that masks are ineffective. This is appalling arrogance.
Well, and it's very, very dangerous too, because if we had the famous interview, and I think it was famous interview that Tucker had with this Tony Babalinsky, which everything about that interview, and we actually the following day we got a little bit more snippets about what was said, is that that seems all credible to me. It's 1,000% more credible than the Russiagate nonsense that we got from anonymous sources. Okay, so and so you have one theory of the case, as it were, based on forensic evidence, okay, on people's words and not on this whistleblower's words, other people's words, okay, and a witness. And what we had with three and a half years of Russiagate, which Twitter let go unimpeded whatsoever, and based on no knowable facts, just opinions and fantasies, and of course lies.
And of course, lies. And then, of course, you've got the Steele dossier, which was continually discussed and referred to, which was based on nothing. I mean, you were making the most ridiculous charges against the president, including the P-tape and all of the nonsense about 19% of this deal for Carter Page. You make all of these assertions. There, you didn't exercise any kind of censorship. So suddenly, you're getting involved in this election, a highly contentious election. You're getting involved in this in a very big way on one side, and then you turn around and say, "Oh, we're just a neutral platform. Don't touch us. We're like the utility." No, this is appalling. I mean, they just simply cannot be allowed to make these sort of assertions.
Well, if you look at politics, particularly in the American sense, it's go all the way back to the Revolutionary War. Okay, after the Republic was established, what did they have? They didn't have the internet. They had pamphlets. Okay, and they had pamphlets that were salacious, full of lies and propaganda and accusations. I mean, people think, it's only been recently that our public discourse is nasty. No, the Republic was founded on nastiness, okay? I mean, look at what Jefferson and Adams, okay, two of the founders of the Republic. They went at each other with wild abandon, okay? And then let's bring it closer to the future. Signs, Republicans vote on Tuesdays, Democrats on Wednesdays. Okay, you get that. Or somebody stuffs a pamphlet in your mailbox. This was against LGBT. Lyndon B. Johnson has fathered black children. Okay, there are plenty of dirty tricks out there, but you know what? The public figured it out. Okay, yes. Let the public figure it out. It's their democracy. It's their republic. It isn't owned by these tech companies, because the more they meddle into it, the more they lower the trust in public institutions and in anything that is related to the media. I've come across people because of crosstalk that desperately want to tell me a story, and they start telling me, and I'm just thinking, there's another wacko, okay? Because of what the media does to people. They come and
Right.
they start connecting dots that don't exist,
Right.
but because people are lying to us. Yes, they are, okay? And that's what creates these conspiracy people have, and over the last 3 years, who's been peddling conspiracies? The big tech companies.
That's it. Yeah, exactly right. But what you're saying is absolutely right, because whenever they talk about these conspiracy theories, well, the ones that were these kind of conspiracies, they were uncovered very quickly. I mean, the conspiracy, for instance, about Pizzagate. Which is constantly cited. Disinformation in the election. Yeah, it was exposed right away. It didn't have any long-lasting effect. The story, which was actually run in Rolling Stone, about the rape at one of those the mass rape that took place at what is it?
Lacrosse.
Yeah, well, that was earlier, but there was the one more recently. A fraternity. There were rape that took place at this fraternity. Boom! Within hours, it was exposed as a complete hoax.
Kavanaugh.
Yeah, exactly. Exposed very quickly. So when they're talking about, well, we mustn't allow misinformation to be transmitted, what they're saying is that you don't like information, you don't want information that you don't like to be transmitted. So again, I cite the example of the masks or the lockdowns. I mean, you can have a debate about this. Some people say masks work, others say masks don't work. But you can't just simply say, well, the statement that masks don't work is not to be allowed on Twitter. I mean, who are you to make that decision? I mean, but that's the problem. So there's a very different idea about what is misinformation. We find out what misinformation is very quickly. This is information you don't like. That's a very different issue.
Yeah, I mean, the misinformation is, I would define it as people intentionally trying to misinform the public about a certain topic here. But I mean, it seems to me that it's even worse when you have these big tech companies, and we can focus in on Twitter here, when they know a story may have legs because it has empirically been proven to a point, and intentionally denying the public access to it. Okay, again, going back to the New York Post story, it was sourced. It was sourced, and they don't like what the story has to say. And just be honest about it, okay? But they won't. See, that's what really irks people like us, is that we know you're being dishonest. We know you know that, okay?
Yes. That's exactly right. Because this is a story, it is sourced, and if you want to argue that this guy is a liar, that this guy is making it all up, and that he has no credibility, fine. Go show it. That's what people did in the case of Russiagate. And people went in, okay, let's find out. Did Cohen visit Prague? No, he didn't visit Prague. So right away, we have to think about, well, is maybe the Steele dossier lacks some credibility? The mention about a consulate in Miami. Well, so it turns out that there is no consulate in Miami. That's how you refute it. You don't just simply ban it. No one.
Michael Cohen didn't visit Prague.
Exactly.
Yeah, but see, where's the standard here? Is that the dossier was in the public sphere for a long time, and I remember reading it the day it came out, and I just thought, well, this is ridiculous. Who wrote this? Okay, whoever wrote it doesn't know much about Russia, that's for sure. Okay, but they never did they take the effort to determine if it was real or not? No, they didn't. But after one read of the New York Post story, did you do any research? Did you make any calls? Right. Did you cross-reference anything? Did you call the Biden administration?
Right.
Did you call the New York Post?
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
It's this unilateral behavior that really irks people. When something that you post on your Facebook page and then it goes away and you didn't delete it. Who did? Why?
Right.
Okay, that's see, all of the responsibility is on us. We have to be accountable for every word we say in public right now, but they're not. They're unaccountable for everything that they do.
No, exactly right. And it gets worse than that because they closed down Facebook accounts. Oh, this was a Russian bot. We don't know that. I mean, we just have to take Facebook's words for that. I mean, why should we believe what Facebook says? After all, we know that Facebook gets its advice from the Atlantic Council. So this is NATO's propaganda arm is working hand in hand with Facebook, deciding, oh, this is a Russian bot. We must close down this account. This is Iranians. Oh, let's close down this account. No, these are people who do not, operate in good faith, and they are not, upfront in what they do. And same with Google. I mean, look at all the YouTube accounts that they closed down. Say, oh well, this is Russian propaganda, or this is Syrian propaganda. They just close it down. So they deny the content creators access to their own content because that's it. Once it's closed down, that's it. You've lost all the intellectual content that you created.
One of the most distressing things about all of these things is that the left is always or almost always prided itself on being tolerant, and they've demonstrated their gross intolerance. Okay, I'm fundamentally against abortion. But I'm not for shutting down anyone in the public for being for. Why would I do that? You have to argue ideas. You have to come into the public square with good faith, and you argue your position, okay? You don't shut it down. I mean, I would say, in my opinion, that is the hallmark of Western civilization, that you can say what you want to say. And there's on the margins within reason, okay? And we're walking straight away from that. We're denying that. And it's denying our foundational stone of our civilization. And that is quite terrifying. When watching the Democrats saying we need more censorship,
that's right.
Don't you realize, Democrats, that it will come for you one day?
Yeah. But that's a very interesting, it's a very interesting question because through most of human history, there hasn't been freedom of speech.
Of course.
I mean, the church that censored it, political leaders, kings censored it. So we're going to, it may be that this brief window that we've enjoyed over the last 100 or so years may just be that, just a brief window before we get back to normal, which is censorship. Well, it's not the church that's doing the censorship, it's a new church that's doing the new political tyrants who are doing this.
But George, in recent history, there's another really good example. If you look at after the Treaty of Versailles and we go into the 1930s, democracy on continental Europe virtually disappeared. And in some places like France, it was very much challenged. Remember, in 1936, the hard right-wing forces in France, when facing off the Popular Front in 1936 with Leon Blum, you know what their slogan was? Better Hitler than Blum, okay? Remarkably, it was Czechoslovakia that basically clung to its own democratic order that it had created after the war at its inception. But the rest of Europe was gone. And it was being accepted as this whole democratic experience. This is a whim, okay? It was a one-off for humanity. And you know what? There wasn't a lot of lamentations about it either, because they hadn't had it for very long. It didn't produce anything positive for them. It was basically chaos because of the Depression and all that. People don't realize how easy you can lose something.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
And you have these people on the left that are so comfortable living within a box, so tightly around their head, where you get everything is certain. And because of our technological age, someone will write the algorithm that'll go right in your head. Now, this is what's politically correct. This is the new wokeism. And you nod your head. Okay?
Yes. Yeah.
And it's remarkable the number of people that feel comfortable with that. That all comes from the universities. I was at the university for a long time ago, But even as I was leaving, I saw it with my own eyes, and it's really terrifying because it's a mob with a single mind, and that is a terrifying thing to have to confront. And now it's into the public, it's in mainstream politics and media right now. It's, I can't overstress how easy it is to lose something that you take for granted.
Right, right. Well, freedom is freedom definitely, because it takes some courage and some vision to permit people whose views you don't agree with to let them speak. I mean, that's it. I mean, it's like a business of banning speech. Nobody wants to ban speech they agree with. Nobody wants to ban good speech. People always want to ban the views that they don't agree with, the views that they think is unpopular speech. If it's popular speech, of course, no one's going to ban it. Somebody says banal, fashionable platitudes. Of course, no one wants to ban that. It's the person who's saying something contentious, who's challenging orthodoxy. Yeah, that's the one who's an unpopular. So that's why when you say, well, it's only Alex Jones. Yeah, but we start with Alex Jones, then soon is going to be somebody else, somebody who may have worked with Alex Jones, or somebody who subscribes to some of Alex Jones's ideas. He gets banned, and so on and so on. Oh, well, it's only, these are just, it's just some pro-Russian people. That doesn't really matter, just some pro-Russian people.
What's really different now is that if you think of the British East India Company in the late 19th century, how powerful they were. I mean, they determined who would be the next prime minister. I mean, they were really massive. Okay. But that was the government. Okay. It was a government connected. Okay. But now what we have is that we have quote unquote private industry, which was designed to succeed, not fail. They had a lot of help with regulation and all of this. They were designed to succeed. But see, and this is the argument I get a lot from the left. But these are private companies. Private companies can't censor. But the fact of the matter is these publicly traded companies are the public square now. So they've become utilities, okay? And we have to address that issue. What we saw in Congress was the usual spinelessness and, grandstanding, okay? But we have a situation now where it's not really, we're not really worried about government censorship. We're worried about quote unquote private censorship, but when they control so much of the economy, it is actually supersedes and is outsized what the government is about. And that's why I think, the titans that showed up yesterday, they were pretty smug. Zuckerberg, he always gets a little nervous in public, okay? But the rest of them are like, okay. Because there are too many people that benefit from it. I mean, their largesse is immense, okay? They have their own little think tanks. They give money to think tanks. And essentially, it's these people, anybody watching this, don't believe anyone in Congress writes one word of legislation. They outsource it to these people, okay?
That's it. Yeah.
Look at Obamacare. It was the medical and hospital and pharmaceutical. They wrote it, okay?
Yeah, that's exactly right. These people wield a huge amount of money. All of this money that essentially they have, they have because other people have created the content. I mean, they haven't actually created any content themselves. They've got very rich, and now they have a great deal of power. But of course, as you said, it is a utility. I mean, the reason that a telephone company can't deny you service because it doesn't agree with you or it doesn't like the people that you work for. So they should not be allowed in any way to, in any way deny the content creators. And I think it should be regulated and made clear, that this is, one of the conditions of, if you're going to be, in the internet business, is that it is a public square. It is a free, uncontrolled flow of information, which was what the information superhighway was supposed to be about.
We can't let companies define what a national good is. We can't allow that to happen. That's why we have elections. That's why we have legislatures. That's why we have Congress. That's why we have a Supreme Court. And I think all of those institutions I just mentioned better step up their game, okay? Because they have ceded to these individuals, and you've already described them quite well. They're very, very young. They may be well educated in the sense of being able to task, but I mean, knowing history, politics, other important things for a well-rounded person. They don't show much aptitude in that area, and that is very dangerous. That's where we come in. Sorry. We fill in the spaces. That's what this platform is for us to talk to people, okay, and to interact with people. And no one should have the right to interfere with that. That's within reason. I understand there's certain things that we don't want on these platforms, but I think that 99% of people would agree on what those things are. I don't think that's a contentious debate.
No, okay. No, exactly not. I mean, because for the same reason that when it comes to pornography, local towns, cities, whatever, have the right to establish community standards and to ban pornography or anything, obscenity, extreme violence, whatever. And no one says, you are violating the First Amendment. No, because you're permitted to have community standards, and therefore things that everyone agrees are obscene and reprehensible can be banned. And so there isn't a kind of a slippery slope. Oh, well, you ban this, therefore you're going to ban speech. No. So in the same way here, yes, these internet giants, they can ban some obscenity, child porn, and extreme violence or whatever. That doesn't give you the right to go around banning views that you don't like. And so that's where it's going.
Yeah, wrong. I mean, one of the things I so truly lament is this rejection of traditional values and this very pernicious secularization, because what it happens is, to fill the gap, we have these tech companies telling us what the gospel should be right now. Now, that may work for some people, that's fine, but it shouldn't be the source of what nurtures our society. That's so hollow and craven, and this is what's happening. And and the thing is that the Academy Awards have these new ridiculous standards. I don't even want to go into them. They're so innately stupid. But George, I have a choice. I don't want to watch the Academy Awards, and I don't. But because of the way life is structured now, I need to be able to use these social networks. Okay, I need to do it. I don't have to watch the Academy Awards. Okay, I don't have to watch CNN. I don't have to watch MSNBC. But there's a medium where I need to be able to communicate with the outside world, and I think that they should tread so very carefully, because to date they're sloppy, they're mean-spirited, and they're ideologically possessed.
That's exactly right. I mean, just because, these days, Twitter, Facebook, that's how you get your message across. I mean, there's just no two ways. If Twitter closes down your account, life becomes very difficult if you want to get your message out. And if Facebook does the same, you are in a lot of trouble. If you want to get
that's exile.
Information out. Yeah. But there's also the other cases, which is these people who are drawn into the business of censorship. They already show that they're unsuitable, because the very definition of a proper intellectual rounded person is that he doesn't want to do any censorship. In other words, I wouldn't go and work for Facebook. Hey, your job will be to censor content. I said, I don't want to do that. I don't know enough. I'm not qualified, and I don't want to ban other people from speaking out. I think that's what an educated person. So therefore, the people who are drawn towards these young people, and they obviously hire hundreds, thousands of people to monitor and censor, by the very fact they have these jobs, they already show that they're not qualified to do it.
Think of Stokey, Illinois, George. Stokey, Illinois.
Yes, that wouldn't happen today.
That's right. Let's remind everyone. It was in the early 70s, wasn't it?
76. It was 1976.
A group of Nazis wanted to march through Stokey, Illinois, a primarily Jewish community, and the American Civil Liberties Union was on their side because it was freedom of speech. Okay, the American Civil Liberties Union had courage then.
Yeah.
There's a lot of American Jews contribute to that organization. Okay,
right.
And that wouldn't happen today. Okay,
no,
at all. And is difficult and is morally wrenching something like that is, and it is. They said no.
Right.
We have principles, we have rights here, and as obnoxious and disgusting as the message these people hold, we because that's the ultimate slippery slope in their opinion. If it's actually a good test. It's a good test because it's the most horrific example.
Yes. No, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. You show that you're committed to free speech when you defend the free speech rights of the worst person, of the person that everybody despises. Then you show, this person is obviously sincere about free speech. The person who only defends the free speech rights of those that he agrees with, that means that person who's not sincere in his free speech claims.
Yeah. That's where we stand.
That's it. All right. Well, thank you very much, Peter. We will definitely be watching what the internet giants are going to do in the next few days, and particularly on election night when things could get very, very dicey. So that's the gaggle. And remember, if you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon.